Hey, I'm Karen of Home by Hattan. I am the lead designer and owner, and I'm so glad you guys joined us today. So I want to say, first of all, congratulations. Yay, you bought a home. You've got your own home, and now you're probably thinking, now what? I bought a home, now what do I do? So today we're going to give you a guide to furnishing and decorating your own home, your new home, and making it work just for you. Okay, so whether you've been in your house just 2 weeks, or maybe you've been in your house for 6 months, or maybe you've been in your house for 2 years and you're still not settled, I'm going to walk you through that. So sometimes when you go to a new house, your old things just don't work. They are the wrong color, they are the wrong size, they don't work for your stage of life. Perhaps now you are newly married and you've got a blended family. Maybe you've gone through a divorce and now you're kind of on your own, or maybe you're an empty nester. And so your season of life has changed and your needs have changed. And so your furniture and your accessories, those kinds of things have to change. So I'm here to help. Let's do this. So today, my program will help you define your wants and needs. We're going to make a design plan, and I want to make this design plan with buy-in from every member of your family that lives there. I want to include your logic-minded folks. Maybe there's an engineer in your family or a very practical person. Your dreamers, your visionaries. We're going to have buy-in from everyone, your kids, everyone. We are going to talk about how to make wise design decisions, how to measure if something is a wise design decision worth the investment. And I'm going to create a step-by-step plan for you to follow to create the most beautiful, best home for you and your family. So the most important step for this new phase of your life is planning. You have to create a thoughtful design plan, and you need to stick to it. That is the most important thing you can do. So as I said, this plan should please both your logistical, logical, analytical people, those family members, and as well as your more emotional, creative, idealistic family members. Everybody gets a say-so in this process. Everybody's a part of the process, which I think will help everybody have a buy-in to this design plan. And function and feel are both very much a part of our design planning. And so going forward, if you are unpacking, I'm going to encourage you to only place what you absolutely have to function in that room, and to not unpack your ancillary objects yet. In other words, don't hang up your art, don't roll out that rug, just kind of unpack what you really need for now, because it will influence your design plan, and it may make you hold back on making your dream home, which is very doable. And if you have already unpacked, when you start working on decorating that one room, I would encourage you to what I call quiet the room and move things out except for what is necessary. So for example, in your bedroom, if you are working on decorating your bedroom, I would move out pretty much everything except the bed and maybe a nightstand and a lamp or a dresser if you need it to hold clothes. But just use what you have to have as you plan and as you decorate. Those things will probably move back into your room, or you may get new. But that's some really good advice that really helps you to be your own designer. Okay, so now we're going to talk about making some wise design decisions. I've got some tips for you to think about that will really help you avoid buyer's remorse in the future, because that's very big, right? Some design things are pretty pricey, and we don't want you to have buyer's remorse. So, wise design decision tip number 1, if your purchase is costly, if it's a big ticket item, or if it's hard to change, like tile or flooring, I encourage you to choose something that has a very timeless color and pattern, something that doesn't have a time stamp on it. I also encourage you to choose quality. I really would like you to buy the best that you can afford so that you don't regret it. And these are for your big ticket items, like I said. So some examples of a big ticket item might be a sofa. So I would not go out and buy a charcoal sofa right now because gray is going to go in and out. So pick something that's pretty timeless in color, like a linen kind of color. It doesn't have to be linen fabric, but that color, creams and whites, they tend to stay in style. Subway tile, you've seen it in houses built in the 50s and you see it in houses now. That's a timeless choice. So go for timeless colors and patterns in your big ticket items. Think about your flooring. You want it to remain timeless. You don't want to have to rip up your flooring in 5 years because it's out of style. So for those things, go timeless. Wise design decision tip number 2. If it's easily changed or if it's a really trendy pattern, then buy those in your easily changed items. In other words, like pillows. Pillows are easy to change. So get that trendy pattern, get that fun color, get that bossy color in your pillows. A lamp you can just unplug and plug in a new one. Okay, that's very easy to change. So those things that are easy to change, that aren't huge investments of your money, there's where you can get a bargain piece or buy something with a trendy pattern, because if you change your mind in a couple years, you're out $20, $50. It's no big deal, right? And then the third tip I'd like to give you, making wise design decisions, is I want you to think about if that item is going to really, truly enhance your life. And if it will, it's probably worth the investment. If your kitchen drives you crazy, you are there on a daily basis. So if you can enhance your kitchen, make it work better for you, make it feel better, have more storage, that's worth an investment. If you know that you like to entertain outdoors and you're thinking about putting in an enclosed patio, if you know you're going to use it, it's going to enhance your life, then it is worth an investment. And you may need to save up for a while and work on this design plan, but I would say it is worth the investment if it's really going to enhance your life. If you're going to do it just to do it or just because everybody else is doing it, I would say no. But if it's going to work for you, then make the investment. If you want a little more help on that, on my website, I do have an investment guide. So if you go to homebyhattan.com, I do have an investment guide that helps you know what some things cost as you're planning. So those are my wise design decision tips. And now I'm going to take you through the steps to take to furnish and decorate your home wisely, okay? So step number 1, you've got this whole new home, and so you need to do a total home assessment. And this can actually be kind of fun. It sounds a lot more fun than assessment or a test. It's not a test. It's really just you and your family talking about how you're going to use your house and defining what supports you in your everyday life. And I want you to think about a place for everything and everything in its place. So start at the beginning of your day. Where do you want to brush your teeth? Where are we going to eat breakfast? Are we going to eat it at the kitchen bar? Are we going to eat it in the dining room? Where are you going to work? Where are you going to exercise? At the end of the day, where do you want to watch movies? Where are you going to watch the March Madness Final Four, you guys? Let's define that. That's coming up this weekend, I think, right? Where are your kids going to play? Where are you going to drop your purse, your phone? Where are you going to exercise? Where are you going to entertain? Go throughout your whole day, have your kids do it, your significant other do it, everybody that lives with you, and talk about what activities you want to occur in what areas of your house, and define those, kind of set those rules. The next step, you've got your total home assessment, you know what's going to happen where, so now I want you to choose one room to focus on and decorate at a time. When you are doing this on your own without the help of a professional, it's easy to get distracted. You go to TJ Maxx, you see all the pretty things, and you buy this for this room, this for this room, and then you come home with a bunch of stuff you don't need. So choose one room. We're going to focus on one room at a time to furnish and decorate. So my 2 cornerstones for decorating are function and feel. So let's talk about function. This is going to really please your practical people in your family. Let's talk about the function of your room. What is the purpose of that room? The picture on the slide's a bedroom. Obviously, that purpose is going to be for rest. But think about what you need in that room for that purpose. that you need a bed, but you also need a rug to put your feet on. You're going to need drapes to block out light so you can sleep. You need lamps to read by. This particular client, we put a TV in her room. You may not want a TV in your room. Where is it going to go? We put a bench in her room. Some people have exercising equipment in their bedroom. Think about, do you really want that? Is that really the purpose of the bedroom? So think about the purpose of your room, its function, and make a list of all the pieces that need to go in there to serve those functions, to serve that purpose. Many people have an open space living area concept, house. When you have a really large room, it's very important to establish what functions are going to happen in that room. So you may want an area for a table to eat, and then a separate area for a sofa and lounging and watching movies. You may want a place for a game table. So define those areas in the room. What are the functions of those areas? What pieces do you need to help you function in that room and create your flow? You may want to draw it out on graph paper. That is always very helpful. I encourage people to get their child's graph paper from their math class and draw out a floor plan. So we've got the function established, what's going to happen in that room, and now we're going to talk about the feel. This is going to please some of us girls that love, color and all the pretty things. How do you want that room to feel? How do you want to feel when you go in that room? And what I mean is sometimes you want a room to feel more cozy and warm and enveloping. Sometimes you want a room to feel bright and happy and open. Sometimes you want a room to be more formal, and sometimes you want your room to be more casual. So think about how you want to feel in your room. Do you want to feel calm? Do you want to feel productive? Do you want to feel inspired? Do you want to feel enveloped? Do you want the room to feel like it's a collected, storied piece of your life? So really talk about how you want it to feel, and that's going to establish your style. If you want it to feel more formal, you're going to look for more traditional, more formal pieces. If you want it to feel more casual, you're going to look for those kind of pieces to furnish and decorate your room. So think about your aesthetic and your style. Now this client on the screen, I showed you this picture because he really liked the feel of Scotland when he went to Scotland. He was very inspired by the Scottish landscape. He also loved the Southwest United States. And we kind of realized that they both have very stark, open landscapes. And we pulled the colors from that to create that feel in his living room. And so we used a copper coffee table. We used blues and greens. We didn't put any drapes on the windows to, again, have that open feel. So think about how you want that feel to be in your home. Which leads us to the inspiration for your room. It's very important to have an inspiration piece to guide your plan. So the client I just showed you, his inspiration was Scotland, the Scottish landscape, and the landscape of the United States Southwest. Your inspiration piece for your house may very well be a piece of wallpaper like I have there. So if that is your inspiration piece, then you're going to draw your colors from that wallpaper. Your inspiration can come from anywhere. So on this next slide, I showed you, this is an office that we did for a client of mine, and she needed it to function, obviously, so we have the storage. She wanted it to feel kind of clean and modern, so we kind of kept a clean aesthetic. But her inspiration actually came from her favorite rock concert poster. And you can see it, it's framed and it's in the little bookshelf up on the shelves, and it kind of has the sherbet sunset colors in it. So that was a rock concert she went to. She loved the colors in that poster. She loves rock and roll. She loves glam. So we called this feel glam rock and roll. So we made her a little glam rock and roll office. So we've got a snakeskin covered desk. We pulled accent colors from her poster, that sherbet orange, the yellows and pinks and things, and that's how we decided her color palette. So I'm going to show you how I used function and feel and inspiration to design my own home office. Welcome to the Home by Hattan home office. I thought I would walk you through my home office and talk about how I used the function and the feel and an inspiration piece to furnish this room, and talk about different things you can do, and just give you a little decorating advice as we walk through. So obviously a home office has to have some functional pieces. And so for this home office, I knew I needed a place to lay out my designs. When I'm working on someone's room, I need a place to lay out their paint color and then their fabric pieces and everything. So I needed a flat place to spread out and create. But I also need a place for my computer. I needed some filing drawers. I need a place to keep my samples. And so I had to think about all those functional pieces. And then I needed a chair that can go from here to here. Also, in terms of function, I wanted you all to know that this room used to be our formal dining room. And it was a dining room for several years. And then when my children were very little, they were like 2 years old and 4 years old, and all they wanted to do was be next to me, this room became a playroom. And so when the function of this room was a playroom, we had a sofa, we had all the plastic toys, we had a TV, and the kitchen is right here. And so it worked really well for that time of my life to be able to be in the kitchen making things and seeing them here in this room, and they were near me. And then it became a music room, and I had my piano in here, and the boys had their instruments in here, because that's what we needed at the time. They were taking music lessons and things. And then my business grew, and this really needed to become a home office for me. And so it's kind of interesting how you make the function of your room fit what you need. It needs to fit your lifestyle. And so I wanted to point out a couple other functional pieces in this room, and that may be helpful for you. So for me, I needed a place to keep samples for my clients, as well as notes with maybe where I am in their project, a place to keep their files. And so this is what I used. I used some whiteboards with some baskets underneath. In your home, maybe you just need it. Each child has their own whiteboard with their schedule or their to-do list or their chores. Maybe there's some hooks here for your backpacks, whatever the case may be. So this is a fun little functional thing that I came up with, where I wanted it to still be pretty, but to function. And over here, so I've got some chairs where people can sit if I have clients over. I have a little chest. I keep some rug samples down here, just other things that I need. And so this is a very functional space for me, but it did have other lives before today. And I'm so glad I did it, because now during COVID, I have a place to do my Zoom meetings, and there's various places I can do Zoom meetings and have a nice background. And so that's important to keep in mind too when you're thinking about the function of the space, especially for a home office. In terms of the feel, I really wanted this room to feel light and bright and happy and productive. And I wanted it to feel feminine, because I am the only girl that lives in this house. And so I wanted to be able to bring in my pinks as well as my whites. I wanted it to feel pretty. And I have a lot of blues throughout my house, and so I wanted to incorporate some blues too to make that cohesiveness within the house. And so I kept the bottom portion of my wall blue, and then the rug that I brought in has some turquoise, blue, and pink, and that ties into some blues that I have in my living room and throughout the house. And so that's an important piece to kind of keep in mind also. But I think I really accomplished the feel of being kind of a glamorous, feminine, happy, light and bright room. And my inspiration for this room was honestly a photo that I found on Pinterest. There was a lady who had a wood desk in front of some white built-ins. Well, I already had this wood desk and I loved it. It's a nice size. And I thought, oh my goodness, I can do that in here. And so I had to have a functional piece that has drawers and cabinets and storage. And I wanted to bring in my pink. So I got my little rolly pink chair,
and just kind of made it come all together that way. I wanted to touch on just a few other things that you might want to think about when you are layering your pieces in, and that is mixing your metals within a space. I do have some gold pieces, I have some silver pieces, and I'm not afraid to mix them. If you go back over here, I do have, for instance, I've got a little bit of silver here, a little bit of gold here. My curtain rods are sort of a champagne-y silver with some gold trim on my curtains. So don't be afraid to mix your metals when you are designing your room. And one other thing I wanted to mention when we were talking about function and feel and being pretty, I have this white tray that I use to kind of corral my junk, if you will. I've got my journal, I've got some files, some random pieces of paper, and I've created a whole video on this. It's on YouTube. It's called The Magic of Trays. And I love to use a tray in the kitchen. I use a tray in my office. I use a tray by my bedside table. It's just a nice, pretty way for you to corral your stuff and make it look really good. So again, keep your function, your feel, your inspiration colors in mind when you are layering and designing your room.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that little tour around my office. We've talked about function and feel and inspiration piece, and I wanted to talk just a little bit more about using your inspiration piece to establish your color palette or your color scheme. I get a lot of questions about that, and so I just want to give you another example. For instance, if this is your inspiration piece, by the way, my friend Karen painted me this for me, is what I'm trying to say. Isn't that pretty? If this is your inspiration piece, then you might want to do some navy. You could use a little green. You could use some pink. You're going to repeat those colors elsewhere in your room. Now, what I don't see in this inspiration piece is brown or what I would call dirty colors. And so I would say if you have a big brown couch and this is your inspiration piece, that's probably not going to work together, so you might want to rethink something. But if you have this as your inspiration piece, which how gorgeous is this, right? I do see a little bit of goldy brown. I see some black. I see some turquoise. I see some kind of yellowy gold. So think about pulling out these colors in your inspiration piece and using that to establish your color scheme, and then don't veer too much from it. Now, if this is your inspiration piece, you still need a neutral, and I would say probably you would do like a light grayish or cream or something to be your neutral, because this doesn't really have any neutrals in it. But use that as your inspiration. And if you have a pillow, take that with you shopping. If this is your inspiration piece, I would take it with me shopping to buy the other things, to buy my rug, to buy my sofa. So use your inspiration piece to go shopping. And also you can find pictures of rooms on Pinterest or house.com, or maybe you just pull out magazine photos or, from Pottery Barn or whatever that you really like, and use that, refer back to that as you are planning your room, because that will really help you with staying on track with your color and staying true to your inspiration. All right, so we've talked about inspiration, establishing your color palette. We've talked about function and feel, and now I'm going to talk about arranging your furniture. And what is very important to do when you're thinking about how to arrange your furniture and what is actually going to go in there is to establish your focal point. Some rooms have more than one focal point, but most rooms have at least one focal point. And by focal point, I mean usually it's something that is an architectural feature already in the room, such as a fireplace. It could also be a big wall of windows with a beautiful view. If it's your bedroom, your focal point is often your headboard and maybe some art over that. If you don't have a natural focal point in your room, I would create one. Get a console table, put a beautiful piece of art over it, maybe a live plant or a floral arrangement, and create a focal point. And then what you want to do is bring in your furniture and arrange it so that you don't block your focal point, but you draw attention to it. And so with the picture that's on the screen, we had this beautiful fireplace, and we actually sort of painted it a different color than the walls. And then we arranged a group of furniture in front of it so that when you come in, you are drawn to sit in those rooms near the fireplace. So we did not ignore the focal point. We decorated around it. So it's very important to keep those in mind and to keep, your function and your feel. Don't block anything. If you don't include your focal point when you are arranging your room, it's going to feel off and you won't really realize why. So just keep that in mind when you are arranging your room. And then finally, I'd like to talk about measuring. You've probably heard the old saying, measure twice, cut once. Well, I'm going to tell you, measure 100 times and buy once. I have had more than one client tell me in the past where they have bought a sofa and it did not go through their door, and then they would have to take the frame off, and one time it didn't even go through the door when they took the frame off of the door. I had one client that said when they moved they literally had to hire a crane to put their couch up on the second floor and bring it in through a big window. So measure before you buy. Another thing that's important to measure is to make sure that you can walk around your furniture. Is your sectional really going to fit with your 2 comfy chairs? Is your bed, your dresser, your tall boy, your 2 nightstands, is it all going to fit? And so what I encourage you to do is, again, make a little floor plan, draw it out to scale, 1 square per foot. That'll really help you know if it's going to fit or not. Or you can take tape and draw out things on the floor with your tape and make sure it's going to fit. So as you're moving into your new house and you're deciding what's going to stay, what you're going to buy new, how it's all going to work together, you're going to consider each piece, accessories, art, sofa, all of it, and consider its size and its scale to the room. You're going to consider its color. Does it go with your inspiration piece? Does it go with the color scheme that you have already established? Will the piece overpower the room? Will there be enough space for you to walk around? And will you walk into the room and walk right into the back of a sofa? Then that's probably not the best place for it. Does it block the focal point, or does it include the focal point? Does it draw you in? Does it fit into your plan? So measure each piece. Does it fit into the plan with function, feel, inspiration, measuring, and will it include my focal point? So now we're going to head on over to my kitchen, and I'm going to show you how to use focal points when you are designing.
So now I'd like to show you a little bit about focal points in a room. When you have a focal point in a room, it's normally in a living room, it'll probably be a fireplace, or it may be your headboard in your bedroom. In a kitchen, it's oftentimes a decorative hood over the range. In my kitchen, I did not have the budget to put in a decorative hood, and so I created another focal point. And we decided to use this area as our focal point. So we took out some cabinetry and added some floating shelves, and we put, these are our everyday dishes. We actually have styled it with our dishes that we use every day. And I know a lot of people are very, a little wary or scared maybe of putting in some open shelving. And I just wanted to say, just use it. Use it for your everyday dishes. These are the bowls we use for cereal. These are our plates. We wash them, we put them in the dishwasher. They come out of the dishwasher, they go right up here. So use what you can grab on your open shelving. And so this becomes a focal point. We also have this beautiful window that's our focal point. And what's interesting is when we first moved in this kitchen, it did not have an island at all. And so we decided to purchase this piece of furniture and use it as our island. And so we've had this piece of furniture and it's functioned very well for our island. But when we bought it, our children were very small. And they love to run through the kitchen and play in the kitchen and ride their little ride-on toys. And so when we bought this island, it actually ran this way in front of our big window. But that gave them room to play. Well, when they quit doing their riding toys through the kitchen, we repositioned our island or our piece of furniture island this way, and now you can still have the focal point of the beautiful window. You have the focal point of the open shelving that we have styled and the light fixture. And so sometimes you have to be creative with making your focal points. And so that's kind of what we did here. I thought I might point out a few other things with decorating your kitchen while we're in here. And one thing is the use of wood and warm features to kind of bring some warmth to your kitchen. I like to use cutting boards because they are functional and they bring a little bit of wood to your kitchen. And so I've got my cutting boards here, my knives are in here. I can just pull out a knife and start chopping. I have my little doTERRA oil diffuser here because that's functional for me. And so I've used these functional pieces to be part of my decor, just like I did on my floating shelves. I've put my hand soap on this little, it's a plate stand, but it's up out of the way. And then I have these little bowls that I put my rings in when I wash my hands or I'm doing the dishes. Sometimes I'll put my vitamins in there so I don't forget to take them. So it's good to have these functional decorative pieces in your kitchen. And I also wanted to say, like, if you don't have wood naturally in your kitchen, you might want to get like a wood bowl to put your fruit in. You can add some flowers. You can add some candles. These are just kind of nice ways to warm up and decorate your kitchen. So one other thing I was going to show you. Personally, I love having a lamp in a kitchen. And so I have placed a lamp right here in my little coffee bar area. And it's on all the time to just make a little happy spot. And it just feels less like a kitchen and more like a welcoming part of the home. And so I think the furniture island does that. I think the coffee bar does that with the lamp. And so just think about ways you can make these little inviting spaces, these little focal points within your room, and style those and decorate those in a way that makes you happy and creates that feel that you like.
All right. Now we are going to talk about the top 3 design mistakes that I see the most often and how to fix them. And I want to encourage you at this point also to give yourself some time and some patience and some grace as you're working through this plan. And if you have found that you've made these design mistakes, it's okay. Life goes on, right? So give yourself a little time, a little grace, a little patience. You guys, there are so many furniture delays anyway in the design world. You know, the ship was stuck in the Suez Canal. Now it's free. Yay. We might actually get some furniture. Just remember, design takes time. And so as we talk about design mistakes, we all make them. Don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you how to fix it. Okay. So the first mistake I see the most often is buying without a plan. A lot of us ladies are sort of very guilty of this. We go to TJ Maxx, we go to our favorite boutique store, and we buy all the pretty things, and we come home and we're like, I don't know where it's going to go. And then we have all these things. So a lot of people do buy things without any thought of where it's going to go in home, how it's going to fit into their space. So think about your end result, buy with a plan, make your plan, and stick to it, okay? The second most common design mistake that I see is the misuse of your focal point. A focal point is the star of your room. It's your special moment to be celebrated. A lot of designers, they'll call it vignettes. If you hear people talk about a vignette, you can create a focal point, you can create a vignette, but show that off. Give yourself a pretty thing to look at and celebrate that moment. Arrange your seating around your focal point so that everyone feels welcome and they see the beauty of your room. Some rooms have more than one focal point, and in this case, you just need to make one of the 2 focal points your main one, but then not ignore your second one also. And you can create little vignettes throughout the room. However, the third most common mistake I see is overcrowding a room. Okay, you don't live in a gift shop, you guys. You don't have to have a million things in every little corner. I've helped so many people design the rooms, and then they'll say, Karen, what about that space over there? What should we put there? And it's 2 feet of wall that's empty. That is okay, okay? Resist that urge to fill every corner of the room. Too much stuff and the room feels overcrowded. You need to give your decorative items space to breathe. You need to give your eyes rest between each of your special places. And then you and your guests can really enjoy those vignettes and those beautiful moments in your room. So give your eyes some rest between all the pretty things. I have a free downloadable guide on my website. It's free. It's called 7 Interior Design Mistakes and How to Fix Them. So go to my website, homebyhattan.com, and you can download that for free. And I can go through that. So now that I've explained the design plan and some design mistakes, I'm going to show you one more video of how I tied all these elements together in my own living room.
Okay, so now I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about how to live in the meantime. When you have to use objects that maybe you don't love and maybe you want to replace. But what can you do in the meantime until that sofa comes in, or until those pieces come in, or until you can carry out your plan? So I was going to show you what I've done in my own house is I needed a place to put my TV, and I needed to fill this big wall, and so I used this dresser. And that's not my original plan. I'm actually getting some built-ins built as we speak, but I've had this dresser for about 7 years, and I've actually really liked using it. And when I bought it, it was wood. And so I wanted it to go with the flow of my room, with the feel. And so I picked a deeper blue color and painted it and did some stain over it. And I really liked the detail on here, and I wanted to bring it out. And so I updated the cabinet pulls. I've used this now for about 7 years, and I've loved it, and it's kind of worked in my color scheme. And so I thought I would also kind of talk to you about how this room came together, because I went through all the steps myself. This room used to be dark red and had all the golds and the greens, kind of during the 1990s, early 2000s, when everything was a lot darker and sage green. And someone gave me a pillow that was turquoise, and it had a gold H on it, and I really loved it. And I've always loved the beach. I've always wanted, that's kind of my inspiration really for the whole room, is I wanted it to feel like I was at the beach and feel light and happy, lots of blues and greens. That was the feel that I wanted. I do live in Nashville though, and there's no beach nearby, so I couldn't really make it like full of seashells. So I decided to use the colors of the ocean and the beach to be my color scheme. And so that was sort of my kicking off point, was my inspiration. And then the feel was established by wanting it to feel like I was at the beach and be very relaxing and light in the colors of the ocean. And then function-wise, like I said, I had to use this to put the TV on. We got some couches. We got double couches so we can have lots of seating in here. And I have to show you one of my favorite pieces that I bought is when I was doing my color scheme and planning, I went into a store and these chairs were sitting there, and they came home with me that day because they're turquoise, and I was like, I'm going to make them work. So this was sort of an inspiration piece along with my pillow and the beach theme. And then I wanted to talk to you about my couch. I did choose a sofa that is a neutral color, and I love to change out the pillows. Like I said, pillow changing is such a cheap, easy way to update the look of your house and your decor without being a big commitment. And so if you have a couch that you don't like, you want to bring in some new colors, that is the best way to do it. Just buy some new pillows, maybe a throw blanket, maybe even a cheap rug that you don't want it to be an heirloom rug, and work with that for a while until you can get what you want.
All right, welcome back. Now we are going to take some questions, and I'm going to try my best to answer them for you. Tracy has been following along, and she is going to take some of the questions that have been posted in Facebook in the comments and read them out for us, and I will try my best to answer them.
All right. Thanks, Karen. This is great. The first question is, how do I know what white to use when painting my home. There are so many choices.
Oh, well, that is a very good question. White is very, very on trend right now. And honestly, I can't answer that for you personally, but I can tell you a few whites that I use a lot. What I will tell you is you're going to have to look at these whites in your room. You're going to actually have to go get a little sample or something and see what looks good with what you have in your room, because some whites are more creamy yellow and some whites are more purpley and some whites are true white. So some good true whites that you might want to start with would be Simply White by Benjamin Moore. Chantilly Lace is a very bright true white from Benjamin Moore. I believe I use White Dove a lot from Benjamin Moore. So those are good places to start. Sherwin-Williams has a nice creamy one. I think it's called Creamy. They have one that's a little bit less creamy called Alabaster. Those are ones I use a lot whenever somebody's looking for a white. So I usually start there. I see how that white looks with their things, and then white is pretty easy to tweak because there are so many whites. So I would say try there.
All right, our next question is, what is the best type of paint to use when you're painting furniture or even cabinets, like your kitchen cabinets?
So cabinet painting and furniture painting. So furniture painting, I've actually painted some furniture that is not my calling, but you saw the little dresser I painted in my living room. I can do it. For that and for a lot of furniture, I use chalk paint. And I just have to make sure when you use chalk paint that you seal it with a wax. One time I actually used Minwax, which is a car wax, to seal it. There is also a really good product for cabinets called Wise Owl Enamel. And Wise Owl Enamel is very hard and it dries very quickly. So a lot of my kitchen cabinet painters are using Wise Owl now for the cabinetry.
Great. Okay, the next question is about curtains.
Okay.
How high should I hang my curtains?
Okay. So I love to say high and wide. Your curtain should almost touch the ceiling. It doesn't have to go all the way to the ceiling, but close to the ceiling. And your curtain should skim the floor, like if you were a lady wearing a long dress. So we don't want any high waters. Your curtain shouldn't stop 5 inches above the floor. It should go almost ceiling to floor. And then also when you hang your curtains, I encourage you to hang them so that when they're open, it doesn't block any of the window. So when the curtain is drawn open, it's basically on the wall. And then when you pull it to close, that's when it actually covers the window part. This will make your window look much more important, much larger. So I go as close as you can to the ceiling.
Great. Okay. And the last question we have right now involves area rugs. How do I know the right size for my room and my furniture?
Great question. Okay. I see a lot of people get this wrong. So an area rug should have every piece of main furniture at least touching it. So you want at least the front legs of your sofa and chairs to be on the rug. If that makes it sort of uneven, get those little foam pads that you can put on the legs of furniture to kind of even it out. But ideally, you want your main pieces of furniture, at least the front legs, to be on your rug. So generally speaking, anywhere from 8 by 10 to 10 by 14 rug is what you'll need for a living area or a bedroom. So kind of go bigger rather than smaller. Scatter rugs really tend to break up your space and make it feel a little more busy. So I always encourage to go bigger and to get kind of as big and nice a rug as you can get.
Great. Thank you. That was super helpful, Karen. If anybody else has any questions that we didn't get to, please feel free to email us at social@churchillmortgage.com, and we will have Karen answer all your questions that way.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Churchill Mortgage. Thank you guys so much for joining in. If you want to work with me, just go to my website, homebyhattan.com. My services range everything from hourly consultations to full-blown renovations. If you don't live in Nashville, I do design from a distance. I have a client right now in Arizona, so I can work with you virtually, and I'll be glad to do that. And again, thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it.